In previous session, I introduced Salesforce data modeling capabilities by building a recruitment application from scratch. We created a custom object called position to represent job openings and explored various field types like text, long text area, rich text, currency, checkbox, date, and pick list. We also set up a custom tab and added the object to a custom Lightning app for easy access. A key highlight was understanding how each field type serves a different purpose in capturing structured data and how object metadata such as ownership and audit fields like created by, lost, modified by are automatically handled by Salesforce. This session laid the foundation for deeper data model design by establishing how custom objects and fields are configured to support real-world business use cases. In today's session, we are continuing with advanced data modeling concepts and diving deeper into field types and object relationships. We are demonstrating how the date time field behaves with respect to user time zones and how values are stored in GMT. We are working with multi-select pick lists, explaining their UI behavior, storage limits, and best use cases. The core of today's session is focused on understanding lookup relationships, master detail relationships, and how to implement many-to-many relationships using a junction object. Using our recruitment app as an example with position, candidate, and job application objects. We are modeling real-world scenarios. We are also covering system-defined relationships such as owner created by and lost modified by fields to ensure a solid grasp of how Salesforce handles record ownership and auditing. We will also be covering the formula fields and roll-up summary fields in detail. In this demonstration, we are working with the position object within the recruitment app to understand how Salesforce handles ID and date time fields. Every record in Salesforce is uniquely identified by system-generated record ID, which is a 15-character case-sensitive alphanumeric string or a 18-character case-insensitive version used for API and integrations. This ID is created automatically by Salesforce and cannot be edited. It serves as the primary identifier for locating, referencing, updating, or deleting records via the UI, SOCL, Apex, or APIs. A record ID also contains a 3-character prefix at the beginning, which identifies the object type. For example, records from the account object typically start with 001. Contact records start with 003. And similarly, case records will start with 500. Even the custom objects will also have the first 3 characters A01. When you create a new position record, that will also have the same key prefix A01. This key prefix helps developers and admins quickly identify the object associated with any record by simply looking at the record ID. It's particularly useful in integration scenarios, debugging, or when working with dynamic SOCL and Apex, where object type may not be explicitly defined. Record IDs are fundamental to data integrity and relationships within the platform. Now let us go and see how to create a date time field. So for this, I'm going to set up Object Manager and opening the position object. Going to the Fields and Relationships section, clicking on New and selecting the data type as date time, giving the name of this as created date time, selecting the defaults for other options and clicking on next and saving the record. Now let us see the look and feel of this date time field. So I'm going back to my position record and clicking on edit button. So this is what the created date time field looks like. Currently, I'm selecting this created date time as today. I'm giving a time as 12 p.m. and clicking on save. The created date time in the view. Now I'll go to my user record and I'll change the current time zone from GMT -7 PDT Central Daytime and clicking on save. So if I go back to the position record, you observe the date time value is updated automatically to 2 p.m. from 12 p.m. So this proves that Salesforce stores date time values internally in GMT and dynamically adjusts the display based on each user's time zone setting. It supports values to the minute. Seconds are not stored. When inserting or updating date time values via data loader or API, always provide GMT based values or use explicit time zone offsets. Date time can also be used in formulas, validation rules, and workflows, which we are going to cover in later part of our session. The date time field cannot store just a date value or just a time value. So both components should be present. In this section, we are going to learn how to configure and use the multi-select pick list field in Salesforce using the position object in our recruitment app. This field type is usually useful. This field type is useful when users need to select multiple predefined values for a single field, unlike the pick list field, which only allows single selection from the available values. To demonstrate this, navigate to Setup, go to the position object, and click on Fields and Relationships and click on New button. From the available data types, select pick list multi-select. Click on Next. Give the field metadata. So I'm calling this as field as languages known, and I'll use a static set of languages, language separated by a new line. Leave other settings as defaults and click on Save. I'll open the existing position, click on Edit. Now this should bring languages known field here. If multi-select pick list field contains two options, one available and one chosen. Available shows you all the available values. Whatever you want to select, you will select accordingly, and that will be stored in chosen. So for example, for this position, I want people who can speak Hindi and English. Select both these English and Hindi options and click on this right arrow so that these two values are selected. So once I'm satisfied, I'll click on Save. So the user selection is done from available to chosen, and internally the value is stored as a semicolon separated string. This string is stored as a field value, not as separate records. When the user reopens the record, Salesforce parses the stored string and repopulates the chosen box accordingly. So there are some limitations for this field. The maximum available values that you can have is 1000. Total number of characters for selected value, including semicolons, must not exceed 1500 characters. Multi-select pick lists are not fully supported in formula fields or global search. In this section, we will explore URL field type in Salesforce using the position object from our recruitment app. This field is useful for storing hyperlinks that point to external resources like job descriptions, company websites, LinkedIn profiles, etc. Click on New button. Select the data type as URL. Click on Next. Provide the field label as, say, job description link. Leave the remaining fields as it is. Click on Next. Click Next. Save. Now let us go to recruiting app. I'll open an existing position. I'll click on Edit. Now there is a field called job description link. This field looks similar to a text field. URL can typically start with HTTP or HTTPS. So I'm storing the URL for my job position and I'm clicking on Save. The encoded URL will be displayed as an anchor tag, which will be like a clickable hyperlink. So once you click on this, it will open browser and take you to that particular location. Salesforce stores the URL as a plain text string in the backend, similar to how text field works. The maximum length that a URL field can have is 255 characters. Salesforce does not have a predefined validation to check for an invalid link. The link is displayed using the full text entered. If the URL is too long, the UI may truncate it visually, but the actual value still remains in the field. Salesforce allows us to create robust interconnected data models through relationship fields, which link records across objects. These fields are essential when multiple entities interact in real-world business scenarios, enabling data normalization, reusability, and referential integrity. In most applications, information is distributed across multiple objects. Let us consider the recruiting app. Position object captures the job opening details. Candidate object stores details about applicants. Job application tracks when a specific candidate applies to a specific position. To connect these objects meaningfully, we use relationship fields. They ensure that data is linked, not duplicated. Salesforce supports 5 different types of relationships: lookup relationships, master detail relationship, many-to-many relationships, self relationships, and hierarchical relationship. The two primary relationship types in Salesforce, the lookup and master detail, form the foundational building blocks for all other relationship models. The remaining types are extensions or special use cases based on these core types. For instance, many-to-many relationship is constructed by creating a junction object with two master detail relationships. A self relationship is essentially a lookup field that points to the same object. Likewise, a hierarchical relationship is also a specialized form of self lookup that is only supported on the user object. Understanding how lookup and master detail field function is crucial because every complex relationship pattern in Salesforce is ultimately derived from one of these two core types. In Salesforce, relationship is defined at the child object. Go to always decide whether the child should exist independently or not. There are some general guidelines to follow while creating relationship fields. Decide whether the child should exist independently. If yes, use lookup. If child should not be independent, select master detail. Add meaningful field labels and document field usage in help text. For master detail relationship, the parent field is always on the page layout. Also understand the cascading delete impact before deploying. For lookup relationships, use lookup filters to control which records are selectable. You can convert a lookup or a master detail only if existing records follow the master detail rules. Relationship fields in Salesforce are critical for modeling how real-world entities connect. They support one-to-one, many-to-one, and many-to-many scenarios, ensuring data is linked, normalized, and consistent while giving us the flexibility to model both loose and tightly bound relationships. When Salesforce is integrated with external systems such as ERP databases, cloud apps, and other APIs, it introduces external relationship fields to manage data referencing across platforms. These relationships appear when working with external objects, which are defined using Salesforce Connect. Two special relationship types are used, like external lookup relationship, which links a standard custom or external object in Salesforce to an external object using a unique external ID field. It's used when the parent record resides in the external system. Indirect lookup relationship is defined on an external object and links it to Salesforce internal object, again using the external ID. It is useful when the child record exists externally and the parent is within Salesforce. These relationships do not store the external data inside Salesforce, but instead allows users to reference and view it in real time. They typically appear only when administrators define external objects using custom adapters, OData connectors, or middleware, and are especially useful in scenarios, real-time order tracking, external product catalogs, or customer financial data maintained outside Salesforce. The limitations include, now let us discuss lookup relationships in detail. As I told you earlier, all relationships in Salesforce start from child. That's why all of them are many-to-one relationships. A lookup relationship is a loosely coupled relationship where the child object exists independently from parent object. For example, in our recruiting application, every position has an hiring manager. Hiring manager is a user. When hiring manager leaves the company, I still want my position record to be in the organization. For this reason, the relationship I create between position and user will be a lookup relationship, so that my position is independent of hiring manager. The typical behavior of a lookup relationship is when a parent is deleted, child will still exist. The parent field is optional, but you have an option to make it required at the field level. A lookup field appears like a standard reference selector, no automatic cascade deletion, and no sharing and ownership between the parent and child. No automatic cascade deletion and no sharing and ownership between the parent and child. In this demonstration, we are going to now show how to create a lookup relationship between the position object and the hiring manager, which is a user object. Go to setup, go to the fields and relationship on position object, click on new button, select lookup relationship. So hiring manager is an internal user in my system. So I'm going to select user object as the parent for this child object. Click on next. Change the field label to hiring manager, and the field name is automatically comes as hiring_manager. So give some description and help text as required. Give a name to your child relationship name. In this case, I'm calling the child relationship name as positions, and optionally you can give some lookup filter. We will talk about these lookup filters at a later point. Click on next. Click next and save. Now log out and log back in so that the changes reflect. Now when you go to the position record, you have an option to select a hiring manager. So you can click on edit or you can do a quick edit. For hiring manager, you have an option to search. I can click on search and it will show you all the users. So you can just type TL and click on the search button. So it will actually show you a search pop-up. So here you can search for a user. So I want to select this Trailblazer tutor as the hiring manager. I'm selecting it. Once you select, it comes back to the record. Once you're satisfied, you can click on save. Now, when you go and delete the hiring manager from the system, the position will still exist in the system because position is independent of hiring manager. You can also save the record without the hiring manager. So for example, I can delete the hiring manager and save it. So child exists independently from the parent. Now let us look in detail about the master detail relationship. A master detail relationship is a tightly coupled relationship where the child cannot exist without its parent, which means the existence of child record is dependent on the existence of parent record. For example, in case of an opportunity and opportunity product cannot exist without opportunity, which means if opportunity is deleted, opportunity product is automatically deleted. The child inherits the rules, sharing rules, the ownership and visibility from the parent. Parent field is mandatory and auto added to the layout. The parent field is locked and cannot be null. There are some limitations around master detail relationships. You can only have two master detail relationships per object. So which means a child record can only have two parent records using master detail. If you want to reparent a record, the only option is you should delete the child record and then recreate. In the next demonstration, we are going to see how master detail relationships works in Salesforce using the standard objects opportunity and opportunity product. So this type of relationship enforces tight coupling between the parent and child, meaning the child record cannot exist independently. Let us navigate to our app, go to App Launcher and select Sales Application. Go to Opportunities. I'm going to All Opportunities. Let me open an opportunity for Burlington Textiles. If you observe this, for Burlington Textiles, there are no products associated to it. This product actually refers opportunity products. So let me go and add some new products. So I'm adding some products here. So which means typically this opportunity now contains 6 products associated to it. So give some quantity, click on save. Now there are 6 products associated to this opportunity. So let me open this one of the product record in a separate window so that it becomes easy for demonstration. Let me open the second one in a second window. Now these are the 2 products that are associated to this Burlington Textiles weaving plant generator. Now for this demonstration, what I am doing, I'll go and delete this opportunity. So when I delete the opportunity and come back to this page and click on refresh, you will observe that we couldn't find the record you are trying to access. So what is happening behind the scenes is when the opportunity is deleted, the associated opportunity products are also deleted from the system, which proves that the existence of child records, in this case opportunity product record, depends on the existence of parent record. If parent is gone, child will go away. So this kind of operation of deleting child records when parent is recording is called as cascading. Now master detail relationships are tightly coupled relationships where the existence of child can only have existence of child is dependent on the existence of parent. As you have seen in this example, deleting an opportunity record also deleted the associated product records, reinforcing the many to one dependency. Use this relationship type when child data is meaningless without the context of the parent. Let's try to understand the considerations and limitations of master detail relationships. Salesforce enforces a strict limit of 2 master detail relationships per custom object. This ensures efficient data integrity checks and avoids complex parent-child hierarchies. For example, the job application object, which is a junction object, can relate to candidate and position using 2 master detail fields, but cannot relate to recruiter via a third master detail field. Use lookup if a third relationship is needed, and the maximum number of relationships that an object can have is 40. If an object has existing records and you attempt to add a master detail field, Salesforce will block it because all child records would lack a valid parent, which violates the dependency required by master detail. The workaround is to migrate data to a temporary object, define the master detail relationship, and reload data with parent IDs populated. The third limitation is a standard object cannot be the detail in a master detail relationship where the master is a custom object. However, a custom object can be detailed in a master detail relationship where the master is a standard object. For example, position object, which is a custom object, can have account as a parent using master detail relationship, but standard object, which is account, cannot have position as a parent using master detail relationship. An object becomes a junction with two master detail fields. It cannot act as a master for other objects using master detail. Job application is already a junction between candidate and position. You cannot now make interview reference job application via master detail. It must use lookup instead. So keep all these considerations in mind whenever you are designing a master detail relationship, also assuming the future use cases. Now let us discuss about many-to-many relationships. In some scenarios, it may be required to link many records of one object to many records of another object. So in Salesforce, as I told you, relationships can always be many to one. There is no direct way of creating a many-to-many relationship. In order to fulfill this requirement, you have to create a third object, which is called junction object. And in that object, you have to add two master detail relationships, one to each of the parent objects. For example, job application is a junction object between candidate and position. So assume that if I delete a position record, then all the associated job application related records will be deleted. Each parent record sees related junction records in their related list. In a recruitment system, one candidate, Solomon in this case, can apply for multiple positions. Solomon can apply for technical architect and software engineer positions. The technical architect position can be applied by multiple people. So this forms a many-to-many relationship which is not natively supported by Salesforce. In order to fulfill this requirement, we need to create something called a junction object. A junction object, a custom object, which has two master detail relationship with these two objects, which needs a many-to-many relationship. So I'm going to my setup. I'll go to Object Manager and I click on Create Custom Object. I want to call this as job application. So for this scenario, I'm making the job application as a job application number instead of job application name, and I'm making an auto number starting with JA- some format starting with number 1, and I'm also creating a new custom tab after creating the object. So this will take me to the tab wizard. Now if I go to my recruiting application, I should see 3 tabs. Once I created the object, job application object, the next thing that I'm going to do is I will establish a many-to-many relationship using this object. So I'll go to job application object and I'll create a new master detail relationship with position object. I'll call it as position. So as I told you, master detail relationship also governs the sharing settings. We will discuss in detail about sharing in later session. Clicking on next. Master detail is always required. That's why everyone should see it. And it is also available on the layout by default. I'll click on save and new. I'll create one more master detail relationship, but this time with candidate object. So in Java application, now I have two master detail relationships, which makes this object as a junction object and which helps in forming a many-to-many relationship. As I told you earlier, you can only have two master detail relationships. So if you go and click on new button, now if you see the master detail is not available, which means you are out of all the two available master detail relationships. Now let me go back to my recruiting application and create a new job application. Assume that Solomon wants to apply for technical architect as well as software engineer position. So come to job application tab, click on new button. So the first position that I want to apply is for technical architect. So Solomon is applying for technical architect. So you can apply for one more position, software engineer. Again, Solomon. Adding one more position, this time position is again technical architect, but this time applied by Harish. You go to the candidate record. If you remember, for Solomon, he applied for two different positions. When you go to the Solomon's record and go to the related section, you will see two job applications. So first one is technical architect and second one is software engineer. So when you go to Harish, he has applied only for one position, so you'll see one job application associated to it. So in this way, you can make many-to-many relationships in Salesforce. So